welcome to the 10th episode of the Illuminutty podcast. As always, gonna start today's show off with some recruiting news. And the first one I want to address for you today is one of our most recent 2028 offers, quarterback DB Tyler Boyd out of Carrollton High School in Georgia. He's 6 foot 185, and this kid is dominant. I think he's going to be the next big cornerback prospect. He does well in zone and man coverage, and he is very well built for his age already. Everyone brags about what a weight room junkie he is and how mature he is. He's getting offers from teams all over the country, and Carrollton's a powerhouse in Georgia, and he's very interested in Ohio State. And like I said, the kid is special. I think you could line him up anywhere in the secondary, and he could make a name for himself. And Ohio State's making a point to offer these kids early and help build relationships with them. And I think OG Walt's going to fall in love with this kid, and so is the entire coaching staff when we get him on campus. Another guy I want to talk about that I don't hear anyone else talking about yet. He doesn't have an offer yet, but I think one could be coming. He's a Glenville kid. His name is Kalen Bailey. He's 6'2", 225 pounds. He's a linebacker edge guy, and I think he's special. I just finished watching his entire film this morning, and he's versatile and special, and I think he's going to be the next line of linebacker edge hybrids out of Glenville that could make a name for himself. And any way we can continue that tradition, I'm all for it. We had Arvell Reese, we got Sincere Johnson, and now I think Kalen's going to be a guy that is going to be on our radar sooner rather than later. And Glenville is just killing it, producing prospect after prospect, not only for us, but for teams across the country. Hats off to Tegan Sr. and what he's done. I've said it for years. I'm honestly thinking of petitioning to rename that school Genville because of what the whole family has done for that program. It's just amazing. Not just the athletes they produce from that program, but the character of young men that come out of that program is impressive, and I just wanted to make sure that they get their shine because I've always been a big Tar Blooders fan, and they continue to produce for us, and I'm glad to see the pipeline come back into prominence because for a while we weren't getting guys out of there, and it's good to have the streak back again. Anyway, for my main topic for today's show, we've all seen what Miami of Ohio has done on the basketball court and what Cincinnati has been doing since they've been in the Big 12 and everything, and it got me to thinking, does Ohio State need an in-state rival? And if so, who do you think it's going to be? And I wanted to posit that question to you, Podfather. I've read the article stating how much NIL money Miami of Ohio is putting towards their athletics, and with all the buzz about possible conference realignment and Nebraska possibly not being happy in the Big Ten and Maryland being the inconsistent dumpster fire of a program that they are. Do you think it's ever going to be possible for an Ohio school outside of Ohio State to join the Big Ten? And even if they don't, do you think we'll ever see an in state rival type situation develop in Ohio?
It's a great question. By the way, I will be the first signature on your Ginville petition. I think that's a fantastic idea. Well played. I will put my name to that one there, Mika.
I've been
Um,
thinking about it for a while.
as far as in-state rivals are concerned, it's an interesting topic. It's one that I have hinted at a little bit over on Patreon with Cincinnati. I did the video over on College Huddle about Miami and the large financial investment, making them basically the richest G5 school in the country, one of, if not the richest.
Yeah,
They are all in on winning the MAC. They've been to three straight MAC championship games in football. They just had a basketball team go 31-0 in college basketball this season, and despite not winning the MAC tournament, still received an at-large bid to the field of 68, albeit a play-in game, but they got there. Um, the commitment the school has shown to athletics is to be commendable. Now, there's some things going for and against Miami of Ohio. Number
yep,
one, things that are for. They are a prestigious institution. They are known as the Harvard of the MAC. It
yep.
is one of the most difficult schools academically to get into in the country, not let alone the state of Ohio. Um, so that the Big Ten obviously loves their academics. It would be the exact opposite of Nebraska, which recently lost their AAU status. So there's that. When you talk about, hey, if you're going to bring someone in who would leave, type of thing. Obviously, I think you brought up the good point that without without Nebraska here, if they were to decide to go back to the Big 12, which is a possibility, then that kind of
And
opens the door for
and
someone.
rumors buzzing about Maryland not being happy either with them leaving uh, the ACC the way they did and joining the Big Ten. And let's all face it, that didn't go the way they planned.
It didn't. Now there is one thing, two things, but one thing, gigantic thing going against Miami being a possible contender for the Big Ten. The Big Ten, I am convinced, Mika. Now I know some will disagree with me, but I am convinced the Big Ten will not accept schools that are not in the AAU.
Yep, that
Miami
was
is not an AAU school.
that was my one factor that didn't one that was the biggest factor for me is them not being an AAU school when I was thinking about this.
Now there is another aspect to this debate, is the word I will use here, and that is how much weight does Ohio State have in making a decision like this? And I would contend that they have the most weight in the conference to basically go at the commissioner or the presidents and be like, no, we will not allow this to happen. Story time. Let's go back in time.
Ooh, I love story
Way,
time.
way back in time before you and I were even a glimmer in our parents' minds, because I don't even think our parents might have been here yet. Okay.
Okay.
Long ago. We're talking early days of the Big Ten. Back back when they were just becoming the Big Ten. They were known as the Big West Conference.
Yep.
And there was a little school in the state of Michigan known as Michigan Ag. They were a little farm school.
Yep.
That little
I
farm
know where you're
school,
going with this.
that little farm school would later become known as Michigan
Michigan
State.
State.
Michigan viewed that little ag school as like they did every other school, because that's how Michigan views themselves, as being lesser than them, right? They looked down their nose at them, and they didn't want them to be a part of the Big Ten. But Michigan at the time, during this time period, there was no such things as television rights deals, or like athletics was just like the 10th thing on a list of 10 things that were important to schools back then. Okay, I mean, let's be honest. The uh the political clubs on campus were more important than the football teams were back then. Okay.
It's a far different time.
Yes, indeed, right? So, um, the fact that, let's just say, modern times, Michigan State was a MAC school, Eastern Michigan, right? That's who they were. That'd be the
Yep.
equivalent of what they were at the time. Wants to be a part of the Big Ten. Michigan would be like, oh, heck no. There ain't no way. We're not going to let that happen. They would threaten to leave the conference. Like, you're going to let them little turds in? We're out of here. We'll go with Notre Dame. We'll go be independent, or we'll go start our own conference. And us and Notre Dame, or whoever, will be much bigger than the Little Ten will ever be. So the fact that Michigan State was able to get into the Big Ten when they did, it wouldn't happen today. It just wouldn't. So Ohio State, looking at that kind of perspective, although I don't think we look down our nose at other institutions, although they might feel we do because of the size in which we are.
I
Um,
I know I don't personally. I root for all Ohio schools
yeah,
unless
yeah, I do too.
unless unless they're playing us. Then of course I root for Ohio State more. But I always enjoy watching every level of Ohio football, and I root for a lot of the smaller schools, the Ohio Bobcats, the Miami of Ohio Redhawks, like all of them, Toledo Rockets, Bowling Green, all of them. I think that's what makes a lot of uh, MAC football really special to me. I love MAC football
Yeah, who doesn't love
because,
some action, right?
yep, the action is fun. I've always enjoyed it. You always see a lot of Ohio kids in the MAC, and it's just, it's a really special conference they got going there now. It's changing with the Sacramento State, I think it was, that joined recently, which I
Yep,
find extremely odd, but
yep.
to each their
UMass
own.
recently. Yep, UMass
Yep,
joined. You got Buffalo, that's been in the conference for about a part of a decade now, a little over a decade. So, and that's a upstate New York thing. But um, here's the thing: I don't think Miami would ever even get close to getting an invitation to the Big Ten. The one in-state school that has the cachet to sit at the
Cincinnati.
table and say, "Hey, we are a player. You got it. It's the Bearcats." And here's why. Cincinnati has changed their national perspective over the course of the last 2 decades. They went from being a MAC level school to Conference USA to the American to the Big E. They were in the Big East for a while. Sorry, Big East,
Yep,
before the Big East disbanded. Then they went like Conference USA, whatever. Then they ended up getting into the Big 12. And when they got into the Big 12, they got their foot into a Power Four. Now, before they got to the Big 12, they were the first, and I believe one and only, group of five school that made the four-team college football playoff under Luke Fickell.
yep, you are correct.
So Cincinnati has got some respect nationally. Um, here's the one thing. Here's the other thing that's in Cincinnati's favor. when thinking about joining the Big Ten, they don't really look at themselves as Ohioans.
No, they don't, and I can speak to that in being in Southern Ohio and having family that grew up rooting for Cincinnati and family members who have actually attended the University of Cincinnati. It's different in Southern Ohio and closer to Cincinnati. You still have your Ohio State fans, but you have a ton of Cincinnati fans as well, and they're rabid too, and they don't see themselves as Ohio State fans. There are some Cincinnati fans that dislike Ohio State because
Oh yeah.
they think that they think that we're just um too diva, and they're it basically comes down to they're jealous of the attention we get, and I get it. We do get a lot of attention, but that's for good reason. And I think they have Cincinnati has the fan base to build on that they could work themselves into a possible in-state rival eventually if they can start recruiting the depth of talent that we get at Ohio State. But that's just my opinion. I know a lot of people disagree and don't think that would ever happen at a place like Cincinnati, but to your earlier point, they have constantly elevated themselves. They have gone from the Big East, the American, and now the Big 12, and they've constantly shown a pattern of putting money towards their athletic program. I mean, even the basketball team, to some extent, has had years where they've performed well.
I could make the argument that Cincinnati basketball has got a better tradition than Ohio State basketball. They've won more
Yep,
national championships, although recently they haven't been very good, but neither has Ohio State for that matter. So I can make that argument that when it comes to basketball, Cincinnati's actually more of a player than the Buckeyes are. But to your point, uh, here's something else people don't think of. Okay, now UC is not an AAU member school either.
no.
But I think they could get to AAU status much easier than Miami could, despite the fact Miami might be a better institution academically than UC and harder to get into than UC. UC has something Miami doesn't. They're in a major metropolitan area. They have a hospital connected to the university. That is a major thing for AAU schools, most of them, because the reason why the AAU status is so important is because of medical research that you
And
get government funding for.
and that was one of the main reasons that Nebraska lost their AAU status, because main uh their main hospital was not located in. I believe it wasn't located in Lincoln. It was located on their branch campus, I believe, if I remember correctly. And that's what caused them to lose their AAU status. So they do have that going for them at Miami of Ohio. And Cincinnati's got a good hospital too, but sorry, yawning. Uh, I just think that we're seeing an uptick in finances being put in all Ohio sports programs. Even the Ohio Bobcats have made a leap in their NIL and investing there too. And speaking as someone who um, is familiar with the Bobcats, and actually I went to college at on the community college branch for the Bobcats, so I've always had a soft spot for them, and I think it would be nice to see them get more love in that week guard. And I always kind of root for them and watch the games and stuff. I like seeing these Ohio sports teams get more focus and more love because as someone who covers recruiting, you see a lot of Ohio kids that don't get the looks from Ohio State. They end up at schools like that, and a lot of them are underrated and very good. And I think if we were to allow oh more Ohio schools into the Big Ten or the Big 12 or these conferences, it would just raise the profile and more uh, fringe Ohio kids would go there instead of like a Pitt or West Virginia or, Syracuse and all those other schools that, end up with the Ohio kids that don't necessarily consider uh, Miami of Ohio or OU and places like that because they have a they have a stigma attached to them with for being the small schools in the state, and I think more kids would be more likely to consider them if they were in bigger conferences.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it raises your prestige immediately. Immediately. um, Now, there's one aspect about all of this we haven't delved into, and I hinted at it at the beginning with Michigan and Michigan State, and that is I don't think Ohio State would ever want it. I
Yeah,
think Ohio State loves being the big dog. They love being the the I guess you would say the
we
main
like being
representative of the state.
we like being the biggest truck in the tank.
Yeah, I mean it's who we are. We are the flagship. We are the flagship school of the state of Ohio. I mean, you people who are born in Ohio are called Buckeyes. Well,
I,
that's the freaking mascot of our university. Okay,
I
it's like the
mean,
Indiana Hoosiers here. Okay.
the last time we lost to an in-state school was um October 8th, 1921. So it's been over 100 years. We're 53-0, so there's something to be said about that. But with the rising competition level and the emphasis and the draw that a lot of these smaller programs are putting towards their athletics, I wouldn't close the door on there being a possibility of like a Cincinnati or something developing into a rival. And like you, like we mentioned earlier, they have a rabid fan base.
They do. They do. By the way, do you know what school we lost to? In last time we lost to an in-state opponent?
Uh, Ober, uh, Oberlin, I think is what it
You
was called.
you you got it. We lost to the Oberlin, the Yeomans. Uh, the Yeomans of Oberlin. Their mascot's a white squirrel.
Which I find
shout out, shout
hilarious.
out, shout out Oberlin. Anyways, Mika, no, you bring up amazingly good points. I don't think Ohio State will let it happen, but if for some reason it did, I think that you're looking at Cincinnati being the only viable school to probably get to that status. Now, that doesn't mean let me you got your tinfoil hat on?
Yep, always.
Okay. Last year, during all the conference realignment talk, do you remember the rumor about Ohio University leaving the MAC for the Sun Belt?
Yes.
They were very close to doing so. I believe what you're watching right now is Miami setting themselves up for the exit. Here very soon, within the next 4 years, by 2030, I think you're going to see the ACC go the way of the Pac 12, meaning this. You're going to watch about 6 to 8 schools in the ACC leave.
I agree.
You're going to see, I think, Miami, Florida State, North Carolina, Virginia, Georgia Tech, Duke,
Clemson.
somewhere in that number. Clemson, yeah, somewhere around in there. 6 to 8 of them leave the ACC. What's left of the ACC at that time? By the way, I think when that happens, I think Cal and Stanford go back to the Pac-12.
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree with you.
I think the Pac-12 opens their doors, and or depending on who the Big Ten brings in, the Big Ten might bring in a fifth West Coast team for the other four who are out there,
I
like a
don't know.
Stanford.
There's buzz about Stanford maybe trying to go independent too.
Agreed, that could be a possibility, right? Um, but what will happen is the ACC will not completely fall apart. They will do exactly what the Pac 12 did. They're going to hold on to what revenue is left with what schools who are left. So, Virginia Tech, Pitt, Syracuse, Louisville, those type of schools, right?
Yep.
And they're going to start to poach other group of five schools, just like the Pac 12 did with the Mountain West, and um, and they're going to try to hold on and basically become of the best of what's left. So if the Power Four become the Power Three, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, and the ACC now is relegated down to Group of Five status, they're going to try and go after the best schools available in the Group of Five to make what would be considered a possible fringe Power Four conference. So you're looking at the best of the Sun Belt schools like James Madison, maybe even some of the American schools like Liberty, who's really good. Schools like that, and then they might look at someone like a Miami of Ohio, who maybe has kind of done really well in the MAC and has revenue, and has shown themselves to be like, maybe the ACC grabs a Miami of Ohio. I think what you're watching right now, going down in Oxford, Ohio, right now with the Red Hawks, is them positioning themselves for the next wave of realignment where they're going to be able to better themselves beyond where they sit currently with the MAC.
And I agree with you. And to speak to the move that didn't go down with uh the Bobcats, I think that that was sort of a wake up call for Miami of Ohio. They were like, "Oh, our biggest rival is considerably leaving. Maybe we should get our stuff together and be prepared to make a move of our own."
Yep. I think that's exactly what is taking place right now. It's twofold. Number one, they want to be competitive currently, and they're
Yeah,
showing themselves to be exactly that, and they want to go over the hump. They want to get there and go over the hump, and they're making no qualms about it. Like, hey, we're investing into to get to the CFP. There's a pathway for Miami to get to the CFP now. So,
and uh, and Miami of Ohio got a couple of Buckeyes on their roster, former Buckeyes, Demarion Witten and one of the Armstrong twins,
yep, yep. And
and
he- and
uh,
and where did Demarion Witten go to high school at?
at Glenville.
Ginville. That's right. That's right.
And I think they're building something there, and their coach is not a slouch. They've
Uh-uh.
really shown an ability to sustain themselves and to develop
Huh.
talent. And I think you've seen that in other Ohio schools across the MAC and other conferences as well. You're seeing depth build and retention of players and players sticking around. Now, Miami of Ohio did lose a lot, but they also retained quite a bit and they brought in some really talented guys, like I said, and um, they got a very good wide receiver that I was really hoping would get an offer from Ohio State. His name is Justin Hodge out of Mentor Well, I really like the kid, and he just recently signed with Miami in their last class, and I think he's going to be something special. He was a fringe Ohio State prospect that I really wanted them to offer, but uh, that didn't end up happening. And I think he could really make a name for himself. He put up great numbers his senior year. You had him and Scotty Fox set records at Mentor when they were at school. So it's not like they're getting these guys that don't know how to play football or guys that don't know how to play basketball. I mean, look at the record in basketball. You can say what you want about the competition level, but to go and do what they did in basketball all and to just consistently show the grit to put performances out the way they're doing and put the record out that they did in a long schedule like the college basketball schedule. I mean, that speaks for itself. That's very hard to do.
Yeah, it is, and they don't have a terribly easy schedule this year. Their non-conference is very difficult, but it's not impossible. And that's the thing that I laid out over on the college huddle was if they were to upset a couple of those games where they're going up against Power Four schools, um, and they get those wins, it's going to immediately put them on the national landscape. And if they just do what they've been doing in the MAC, then they can, like I said, there's a path to get to the CFP for the Redhawks. And then once you've made it to the CFP, everybody knows who you are. Tulane, every year, people make the prediction Tulane will get to the college football playoff because now they've done it a couple times. James Madison, their national perspective is there, and that was a school that was a FCS school not that long ago. So it's possible. It's absolutely possible. Um, but we'll have to see what happens. So, but I like where you're going with this.
And to speak to that, I think making the playoff that back when Cincinnati did it, that changed their perspective as well. They landed a lot more high level recruits after that I don't think they would have gotten if it wasn't for that. And all it takes is one appearance to change the change the perspective of a program. And I think a lot of Ohio um, programs are poised to make moves, and I don't think they're shying away from it either. And that's the thing. I think they've realized that why not us? And that's a great mentality to have. Now, do I think that we're gonna see them compete at an Ohio State level? Really, I don't think it's gonna be easy for them to gather the depth of talent, at least not for a while. Now, if they can string together a few playoff appearances, whether it be Cincinnati, Miami, Ohio, or any of them, then we might see something change. But uh, you know what they say: a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. So
Yeah, yeah, and
you
they've taken the steps. You're right.
this is a this is a serious possibility, and I just think it'd be cool to see. I want to see more Ohio recruits go to Ohio schools. Now, we've touched on it. It does happen a lot. You see a lot of guys go to Ohio schools, guys that didn't get a look by Ohio State. But I think if this happens, you're gonna see a lot more fringe Ohio kids say, you know what, I'm staying home and I'm gonna be a Bobcat or a Rocket or a Falcon or whatever, and I'm not gonna go to West Virginia, Pitt, insert you know, the usual suspects here. I mean, and I think that's going to be great. I'm all for that. I love when Ohio kids stay home and represent Ohio. And I think the Civil War and the Michigan State rivalries and stuff like that were cool and everything. I like that. I think there's something to be said for battling over over the same ground and same area and stuff. Now, um, like I said, we don't we have a rivalry with the team up north, so it's not like we we have to worry about them being far away and everything. But I think there's something to be said for fighting over the same state. Now, I like being the big truck in the tank too, but I also think an in-state rivalry would be cool. So I go back and forth on it. I'd be happy either way. I'm just glad to see these teens investing in their athletic programs and seeing these kids get the shine that they deserve because they they don't they haven't in the past, and I'm glad to see that changing.
Yeah, I do as well, and I'm a sucker for the Mac. Now I lean a little bit more heavy to Bowling Green because of Eddie George. I ain't gonna lie,
Yep.
but I'm all for it as well. This was a great topic, Mika. Good job.
Thank you. A lot of research went into this one, guys. Let me know in the chat. What do you think? Do you want to see an in-state rival in the future? Are you happy being draws and everyone else be finding Nemo? I don't know. I go back and forth on it myself. So let me know in the chat what's your opinion, and do you think if we get an in-state rival, do you think they need to join the Big Ten, or would you be happy with them staying in the Big 12? Uh, if they make a move to the ACC or what have you? Let me know what your opinions, and like I said, if there's any prospects or anything you guys want me to check out or any topics you want me to cover, just leave it in the comments or contact the OHIO podcast, and I've given Podfather permission to give my email out to you guys, and so you can get in touch with me if you want to come on the show. I've had Michael on the past, and I want to give more fans a chance to say what they want to say and get their stories out. I'm working on having another guest on here soon, so stay tuned for that. And check us out over on the OHIO podcast Patreon page. Our recruiting database gets updated on a daily basis. I'm about to drop a huge amount of Ohio prospect information on you guys. I'm continuing to work on that list. It's a big list coming for you, and like like we've said, it literally gets updated on a daily basis. I'm constantly talking to Vader. We're constantly hearing stuff and doing our best to keep that updated for you. So please check it out. Check out our merch store. Buy some Illuminutty merch. That's how we get paid, and everyone loves to get paid. So please help support me and share this, like and comment and do all the YouTube things. You know what to do. Most importantly, support your Buckeyes and OH,
Hi-yo.
go Bucks, and Scum still sucks.
Yes, they do.